6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Dan.
Now then, Dan, what do you think of dating apps? You know, apps on your phone that help you find a romantic partner.
I can't say I've ever used them myself. How about you?
Neither have I, but I've got friends who have, very successfully. Lots of weddings.
Oh, great.
Now, research shows that fewer than 5% of people who have used dating apps actually go out on a date with someone they've met through them. We'll find out the reasons for this shortly, but first, a question. Even though dating apps are not used as much as we might think, they are still big business. But do you know how big? Around the world last year, how much was spent on them? Was it A, less than $500 million, B, between $500 million and $1 billion, or C, over $1 billion? Any ideas, Dan?
Well, this is purely a guess, but let's say over $1 billion.
Well, we'll have the answer at the end of the programme. Elizabeth Tinnemans is a researcher who studied the use of a particular dating app. She spoke on the BBC's You and Yours radio programme on Radio 4. Her study confirmed that comparatively few people who used the app used it to arrange to meet up with someone. She talked about the people's motives for using the app. Motives is a word which means reasons. So what were those motives?
We found from all the people that we surveyed that only slightly more than half of them actually met up with someone. So it doesn't look like a lot of people are using it to meet up, but it makes sense because we also looked at why they were using a dating app. And the most popular and most common motives were using it out of curiosity and using it to pass time or entertainment. So they're not actively using these dating apps to meet people. Like swiping with friends is something that happens fairly often, especially among millennials.
Tinnemans said that people use the app to pass the time and simply for entertainment. What other motives did she mention, Dan?
Well, she said that people used it out of curiosity. If you do something out of curiosity, you're just interested in seeing what it is and what it does. Maybe you've heard about something, and although you don't want to actually try it, you do want to see what it's all about. For example, when I was traveling once, out of curiosity, I went to see people bungee jumping, but it was never something I was going to do myself.
Was the lack of actual dating through the dating app a surprise?
No. She said that because they looked at the motives, the result makes sense. When something makes sense, it's understandable. It's not surprising.
There is another view as to why people are not using dating apps for actual dating. This is Zoe Strimple, who is a dating historian. She argues that because there is so much choice and so many opportunities to find a partner through an app, it can make the dating process unpleasant, and people get tired of it.
People are being horribly disillusioned. I think people have also started to feel jaded. People are feeling that they're aware that these relationships are often very callous, and that's to do with this sort of incredible sense of choice.
She says that people feel disillusioned and jaded. What does she mean?
When you're disillusioned, it means you're unhappy with and disappointed by something because it isn't as good as it used to be, or it's not as good as you thought it was going to be. If you have many experiences like that, you become jaded, which means you become bored and lose interest in something.
She also commented that the dating experience can be callous.
This means that emotionally, it can be very tough, and you have to be ready to accept rejection or to reject people yourself. And this is not always done in the kindest way.
Here's Zoe Strimple again.
People are being horribly disillusioned. I think people have also started to feel jaded. People are feeling that they're aware that these relationships are often very callous, and that's to do with this sort of incredible sense of choice.
OK, time to review today's vocabulary, but first let's have the answer to that quiz question. I asked how much was spent on dating apps last year. Was it A, less than $500 million, B, between $500 million and $1 billion, or C, over $1 billion? Dan, you said?
I said C, over $1 billion.
Well, the total was just under $600 million, so the correct answer was B, between $500 million and $1 billion. Good guess if you got that one right. Right, now it's time to recap today's vocabulary. Our first word was motives. A motive is your reason for doing something.
If something makes sense, it's not a surprise, and you can understand it.
The next phrase was out of curiosity. This is when you do something for no particular reason other than you are interested in seeing it or trying it.
Then we had disillusioned. This is a feeling you get when something isn't as good as it used to be or as good as you expected it to be, and you become disappointed by it.
And that can lead to your being jaded, which is a feeling of dissatisfaction and boredom with something that's been going on for a while.
And finally, there was callous, an adjective which means uncaring and cold-hearted.
Well, I hope you aren't disillusioned with 6 Minute English and will join us again next time. In the meantime, find bbclearningenglish.com online and on social media and on our own app. And before you ask, it's not a dating app. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Rob.
Now, Rob, can you complete this saying? Love and marriage go together like...
Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage.
That's right. And when was the last time you saw a horse and carriage?
Well, that would have been quite a while ago. They're quite rare these days, not an everyday sight.
Indeed. And according to recent statistics, marriage in the UK is getting rarer too. Not as rare as seeing a horse and carriage, but the numbers are falling. Before we look at this topic in a bit more detail, a little quiz for our listeners.
Yes, according to the UK's Office for National Statistics, how many opposite-sex marriages were there in 2015? Was it A, 239,000, B, 309,000, or C, 339,000? Any idea, Neil?
I have no idea, but I'm going to have a guess and I'm going to say A, 239,000.
OK, well, we'll reveal the answer a little later in this programme. And whatever the correct number, the trend is downwards. Year on year, there are fewer opposite-sex couples getting married in the UK.
So why might this be? Are we falling out of love with marriage? Let's hear from a couple of people with different views. First, here's Tom from BBC Learning English. What doesn't he like about the idea or concept of getting married?
I'm not that enthusiastic about the idea of marriage, to tell you the truth. I think it's a bit of an archaic concept these days, and I'm a bit of a commitment phobe. I don't like the idea of signing a piece of paper that says I have to be with someone for the rest of my life and can never escape from that person, I suppose, although I am in a very happy relationship at the moment.
So that was Tom there, not a fan of marriage. But what were his objections, Neil?
Well, he described marriage as an archaic concept. When someone describes something as archaic, they think it is very old-fashioned, out of date, belonging to a different time.
So that was one of his problems with marriage. But he also said that he was a commitment phobe. The suffix phobe means someone who is afraid of something. In some cases, it can also be used as a standalone word, but it means the same. So a commitment phobe is someone who is afraid of or doesn't like the idea of commitment.
And when talking about relationships, commitment means being with one person and giving up the idea of being free to do whatever you want and see whoever you want romantically.
So for commitment phobes, commitment means losing something.
But that's not true for everyone. Here's Dan, also from BBC Learning English. What's his view of marriage?
In general, I think it's quite good. It has a very stabilising effect on society, and it declares publicly to the world that you have found the right person for you and that you're in a committed relationship.
So Dan is a fan. He thinks marriage has a stabilising effect on society. He sees marriage as being good for society as a whole. It makes society stronger, more stable.
And he also sees it as a way to say to everyone that you have a strong relationship. You're with the one person you love.
So for Dan, commitment and being in a committed relationship is a good thing. Now back to our question at the top of the programme. I asked how many opposite-sex couples got married in the UK in 2015.
And I took a guess, didn't I? And I said A, 239,000. Am I right?
You are definitely right. The answer is 239,000, or 239,020 to be precise. That figure was 3.4% lower than 2014. So what do relationship experts think is the reason fewer people are getting married?
Well, there could be lots of reasons. In some countries, the way society is changing means that there is less pressure to get married or stay married. As a result, there are more divorces. So perhaps children of divorced parents are less likely to get married themselves. Right, well, before we go, let's recap the vocabulary we highlighted today. The first word was trend.
A trend is the direction that something is changing over time. When it comes to marriage, the trend is for fewer marriages. And the trend for 6 Minute listeners is the opposite, going up, particularly when you're presenting, Neil.
Ah, that's very nice of you. You're very kind. The next two words were an archaic concept. Archaic is an adjective for something dated or old-fashioned.
A bit like your fashion sense.
Ugh, Rob, just as I was beginning to like you.
Sorry about that. You know I don't mean it. In the interview, archaic was used to describe the concept of marriage, not your fashion sense. Concept is another word for an idea or belief. So an archaic concept is an old-fashioned idea.
Our next expression was commitment phobe. We use this phrase to talk about someone who's scared of the idea of a long-term relationship because they see it as giving up some freedoms. You're obviously a compliment phobe. You're afraid of saying nice things about someone, so you always have to say something nasty as well, hey?
Well, I said I was sorry.
And finally, we had the adjective stabilizing. Something that is stable is strong, and something that makes something strong can be described as stabilizing. Dan expressed his belief that marriage had a stabilizing effect on society. Well, that's it for this program. For more, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube pages, and of course our website, bbclearningenglish.com, where you can find all kinds of other activities and videos and quizzes and things to help you improve your English. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Dan and joining me today is Neil. Hi, Neil.
Hi there, Dan.
You're a married man, Neil. When you were wed, did your wife change her family name?
Yes, she did.
Was that her choice?
Oh, yes, she didn't like her old name, so for her it was a win-win. How about you?
Well, my wife wanted to keep her surname, but was forced to adopt mine because that was the law where we got married.
Would you have thought about taking her name?
That's what we're talking about in this 6 Minute English. A husband taking a wife's name after marriage. All that, 6 related words, and our quiz question.
Okay, let's have the question.
In which country has it been forbidden since 1789 for a citizen to change their name legally even after marriage? Is it A, Japan, B, France, or C, Turkey?
I'm going to go for B, France.
And we'll see if you're right later. Now, traditionally in the UK, when a man and a woman get married, the woman takes the man's family name, and this replaces her maiden name.
A maiden name is the surname a woman had before she was married. Now, this all dates back to the Norman invasion of England back in 1066. They introduced the idea that when a woman married a man, she became his property. Now, as a result of this, she took his name.
These days, many women elect to keep their maiden name upon marriage or combine it with their new husband's in some way, sometimes by making the name double-barreled.
A double-barreled name is two names that are connected by a hyphen, such as Joan Smith.
However, a growing number of couples in Western culture are doing it differently. When they get married, the husband elects to take the wife's surname.
In a BBC article about surnames and marriage, Rory Dearlove, formerly Rory Cook, talks about why he decided to take his wife's surname. He said that he wasn't really attached to his name anyway. To him, it didn't make any difference.
Well, he's not alone. A recent study of 2,000 UK adults by Opinium, a strategic insight agency, suggested that 1 in 10 millennial men, currently between 18 and 34 years old, fall into this category.
Charlie Shaw, a Tibetan Buddhist meditation instructor who took his wife's name when they married last year, said that it was an opportunity to acknowledge the unseen patriarchal bias and sexism in our society.
Patriarchal means controlled by men, and a bias is the unfair support or opposition to a person, thing, or idea.
Many traditional societies were patriarchal, but modern UK society is less like that. Everyone is meant to be equal.
Ah, yes, but that's the unseen part. And there's the social view of things too. Rachel Robnett, a researcher at the University of Nevada, surveyed a number of people in the US and UK and found that the husbands of women who keep their maiden names are viewed as feminine, while the women are believed to wear the trousers.
If you wear the trousers in a relationship, it means you have the control and make the decisions for both people.
I wondered about that, so I went out into London and asked people what they thought about a man who took his wife's name when they got married. Here's what they said.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. My dad's 55 and he took my mother's surname. If people want to do it, then all the power to them.
I just think it's each to their own, really. Yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody, and it's no different from a woman taking a man's name.
The only reason I think that anybody should take someone else's surname is just for like the creation of a family unit. But if it's just out of principle, I don't agree.
It seems that the people I talked to are comfortable with the idea.
Yes, most said that people are free to do what they want. One woman even mentioned the creation of a family unit.
A unit is a group of people living or working together. A typical family unit would be 2 parents and some children. Well, that answers that question. People don't seem to mind who takes whose name.
Speaking of questions, how about our quiz question?
I asked you in which country it has been forbidden since 1789 for a citizen to change their name legally even after marriage. A. Japan, B. France, or C. Turkey.
And I said B. France.
And you were spot on, as usual, Neil.
Let's take a look at the vocabulary, shall we?
First, we had maiden name. This is a woman's family name before she is married. My mother refused to give up her maiden name to my father when she got married.
Then we had double-barreled. A double-barreled name is 2 names that are joined by a hyphen. Can you think of any famous examples?
Well, there's the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla Parker Bowles, for one. She's married to Prince Charles, next in line to the English throne. Then we had patriarchal. If something is patriarchal, it is controlled by men. The feminine equivalent is matriarchal, controlled by women.
Then we had bias. A bias is unfair support or opposition to a person, thing, or idea.
Many fans are biased in favour of their football team. Then we had wear the trousers. If you wear the trousers, you have the control and make the decisions for both people. Do you wear the trousers in your marriage, Neil?
Oh, we both wear the trousers in my marriage, thank you, Dan. Then we had unit. A unit is a group of people living or working together, like the BBC Learning English team, or unit.
And that's the end of this 6-Minute English. Don't forget to check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube pages, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
6-Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6-Minute English. I'm Catherine.
And I'm Neil.
Now, Neil, you're a dad, aren't you?
I am a dad. How
Yes.
did you know? Is it the grey hair in my beard? Is it the wrinkles around the eyes?
I thought that was just your age.
Well, yes, maybe. In today's programme, we're going to be talking about fathers and how being a father has changed over the years. But before we hear more about this topic, our question for the day. According to recent research in the UK, what percentage of men are present when their children are born? Is it A, 55%, B, 75%, or C, 95%? What do you think?
I think a lot of men these days like to see their children born. It's not culturally inappropriate, so I'm going to go for 95%.
Well, we'll find out if you're right at the end of the programme. Now, Dr. Anna Mackin is an evolutionary anthropologist. She studies, among other things, how human behaviour has changed and is changing. She's written a book called The Life of Dad. She's been studying new fathers and spoke about her research on the BBC's Woman's Hour programme. She asked why men want to become fathers. She starts by saying that there are lots of reasons, but how many does she mention in her answer?
There's lots of different reasons why men want to be fathers. For some of them, it's just the stage in life they've reached. You know, they've got the house, they've got the job, now it's time to have a family. Sometimes they admit that actually they're not that keen, but their partner wants a baby, so they're kind of going along with it. And a reasonable number actually say they do it because they want to undo what their father did to them. So rewrite history in relation to fathers and the experience of fathering to be a better father than their father was.
How many reasons does she mention?
She mentioned 3 reasons. The first was that it was that time in life. The guys had a home and a job, and having children was the thing to do next.
Another reason was that it was what their partners wanted, even if they weren't that keen themselves. If you're not keen on something, it means you're not enthusiastic about it. It's not really something you want to do. But because it's what their partner wants, they agree to do it. Or as Dr. Mackin said, they're going along with it.
Yes, going along with something is a phrase that means agreeing to do something even though you don't really want to do it. It's interesting that Dr. Mackin said that some men admit to this. To admit to something is to say or agree that something's true, even if you're perhaps ashamed of it or you don't want it to be true.
There was one more reason she mentioned, and that was that some men become parents because they want to be a better father than their own father had been. Let's listen again.
There's lots of different reasons why men want to be fathers. For some of them, it's just the stage in life they've reached. You know, they've got the house, they've got the job, now it's time to have a family. Sometimes they admit that actually they're not that keen, but their partner wants a baby, so they're kind of going along with it. And a reasonable number actually say they do it because they want to undo what their father did to them. So rewrite history in relation to fathers and the experience of fathering to be a better father than their father was.
So what is it about some fathers' own dads that they didn't like? Here's Dr. Mackin again.
Well, in some cases, you know, the father would be neglectful. Some fathers were absent. And others, they just felt that they were a very, I suppose we'd say, a 1950s father, so distant, disciplinarian, not actually involved in their child's daily life and certainly not involved in their care. So today's generation fathers, even in the 10 years that I've been studying dads, we've seen a massive evolution in how hands-on fathers are.
She talks there about some negative characteristics associated with dads in the past. She suggests that some fathers didn't have a very close relationship with their sons. They were absent, which means they weren't at home a lot and didn't spend time with their children.
Yes, and some fathers were seen as disciplinarian. That describes someone whose main communication with their children was to give them strict rules and tell them off or punish them if they do something wrong.
These days, according to Dr. Mackin, fathers are much more hands-on. This phrase means they are much more involved with their children and share bringing up their children with their partners.
And talking of sharing, Neil, come on, it's time to tell me the answer to today's question.
Yes, indeed. According to recent research in the UK, what is the percentage of fathers who are there when their children are born? Was it 55%, 75% or 95%?
And I said a very optimistic 95%.
Being optimistic is good, obviously, because you are correct.
Yay! That's fantastic.
And now for something else fantastic, our review of today's vocabulary.
We started off with admit to, for when you say something's true, even if it might make you look a little bit bad. And before we go on, I have to admit, Neil, that it was me who ate your biscuit.
Oh, which one?
The one you left on the desk.
Ah, that's all right. I wasn't really keen on it anyway. It had been on the floor.
What? Ooh.
Yeah, well, serves you right. And to be keen on something is our next phrase, meaning being very interested in and enthusiastic about something.
Then we had to go along with something. This is when you agree to do something even if you're not keen on it.
An absent father is one who is not at home to spend time with his children.
And some fathers are disciplinarians. They have strict rules and they give out punishments. But these days, more fathers are hands-on, which means that they're very much involved in looking after and bringing up their children.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Join us again next time. And remember, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, our website, bbclearningenglish.com. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Dan.
And hello, I'm Rob.
In today's programme, we're going to be looking at what our brains are doing when we're using dating apps. Now, Rob, Have you ever used a dating app?
No way. I would never use one.
So, Rob, can you explain, when talking about dating apps, what we mean by swipe left and swipe right?
Ah, yes. These are not new words, but technology has given them new meaning. To swipe is the movement of your finger on a smartphone to change the screen you're looking at. So imagine turning the page in a book. Well, on a phone, you swipe. In some dating apps, they show you pictures of people you might find attractive. If you do like them, you swipe right. If you don't like them, you swipe left.
We will dig deeper into this topic shortly, but first a question. In the UK, approximately how many marriages start with the couple meeting online? Is it A, 1 in 3, B, 1 in 4, or C, 1 in 5? What do you think?
Well, all of those seem quite high to me, so I'm going to guess in the middle, 1 in 4.
Well, we'll find out if you're right later in the programme. Now, Alice Gray is a science communicator and blogger. Recently, she was a guest on BBC Radio 4's Woman's Hour programme, and she was asked about what goes on in our brains when we use dating apps compared to when we meet people in real life. What difference does she say there is?
It was very easy to think that just with these instantaneous swipe left, swipe right, that the process in our brain of how we pick out a suitable mate would be very different, when actually it's really similar to how we do it in person.
So, she says that what goes on in our brains is actually very similar. Online, we make decisions very quickly about who we like. These decisions are almost immediate. She used the adjective instantaneous for this. So we make these instantaneous decisions, then choose to swipe left or swipe right. In real life, we do the same thing. We know almost immediately when we see someone if we find them attractive or not.
Although, of course, in digital dating, once you've swiped left, you will never see that person again, and you won't have the chance to meet. In the real world, you could meet someone you don't find attractive instantaneously, and then get to know them and find that you do quite like them.
Yes, this is true, but then possibly they won't like you, and then you have to deal with rejection. Rejection is when someone doesn't find you attractive and they don't want to spend time with you or get to know you.
So, what's the difference in our brains between online rejection and real-life rejection? Here's Alice Gray again.
We see that a lot of the patterns associated with rejection in real life and rejection on dating apps are similar. It's just the exposure to the rate of the amount of rejection you get on dating apps is a lot higher than the ones in real life. So in real life, you'll have time to sort of compute the rejection, get over a little bit, dust yourself off and get on with it, whereas the rate of rejection on dating apps is so high, it's often hard to cope with one coming in after another.
So she says that our brain's response to real life and online rejection is quite similar, but in the digital world, you can be rejected many more times.
In real life, you have a bit more time to recover from the rejection, to get over it, as she says. You can dust yourself off, which is a way of saying that you think positively to make yourself feel better. Imagine falling over on the ground. When you get up, you might be covered in dust and dirt. You need to dust yourself off to make yourself ready again before you carry on.
In the online world, though, you don't have that time. Online dating apps can lead to many rejections, and psychologically, that can be difficult to manage. Another way of saying difficult to manage is difficult to cope with.
Well, we don't want you to reject us, so time now to give you the answer to that quiz question before a recap of today's vocabulary. I asked, in the UK, approximately how many marriages start with the couple meeting online? Is it A, 1 in 3, B, 1 in 4, or C, 1 in 5?
So I said B, 1 in 4, 25%. Was I right?
Sorry, Rob. The answer is A, 1 in 3. Does that surprise you?
Well, yes, it does. I didn't think it would be that high.
It's a sign of the times, Rob. Digital world, digital dating. Let's have a look at that vocabulary.
OK, well, we started with the verb to swipe. The movement of our finger on a smartphone or tablet screen to indicate whether we like someone or not. Swipe right for like, swipe left if you don't like.
Our decisions on whether we find someone attractive or not are often instantaneous. This adjective means immediate, at once.
Rejection is when you let someone know that you are not interested in them. You don't want to be romantically involved with them.
If you are rejected, you might need some time to feel better. And for this, you can use the phrasal verb get over. It can take some time to get over a rejection.
Yeah, I know. Now, being positive and optimistic after a rejection can be described as dusting yourself off. But having many rejections can be difficult to cope with, which means it can be difficult to manage, difficult to keep positive.
Well, we hope you don't swipe left on this program and that you'll join us again next time. Remember, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
And don't forget our new BBC Learning English app.
Oh, good idea. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.